So it just happened that I was studying user interface design and the psychology behind it at that point. So that's what I decided to kind of present tonight. So, so really quickly, I want to talk about long-term and short-term memory and user interface design and how you can use those to make simpler interfaces that people recognize and they're easy to use. So, and then I'm going to give a really quick example. So, short-term memory holds 7 items in your memory. And then long-term memory is like I think I can use the cache and disk argument because there's a lot of nerds in here. But it's like I'll do it in a warehouse example, but it's like cache and disk. So short-term memory is 7 items in your memory. So when you see something on a website and you go to another page on that website, if you've already seen it and it makes sense to you and you see it again, you don't have to think about it. It's just there. And so it's easy to use. So you can click through things and things are really easy. If it's not in your short-term memory, then you need to go to your long-term memory, and that's when things are confusing. So think of like logout buttons are always in the top right-hand corner of the website. So if it's not in the top right-hand corner anymore, and you have to stop, then it's difficult to use because now you have to think, where is the logout button and how do I get to it? If it's in the top right-hand corner, you always know it's there. You don't have to think about it, and you know where it is. Same for search. Search is always in the top right-hand corner. For some reason, you put it in a sidebar or towards the bottom of the screen. It makes software difficult to use because now a user has to stop and think about where that is, right? And as long as it's similar to them, so if you put it in the bottom and they learn that it's at the bottom and they go to another page and it's still at the bottom, they're fine, right? Because they've learned that and they've learned how to use your software. But if it's on a different place because you want something fancy, now they suddenly, it's difficult to use your software because they have to think about it. And then they have to stop and think, and then it goes to the long-term memory, so they have to jump over into their long-term memory, and it takes much longer to get that. So the nerd comparison is cache versus disk. So if something is in cache, like your web browser, it's really easy to get to, it's really fast. Like if you're typing something in an address bar and you want to go to a website, and you've already been there, the computer knows it, it just loads it in there and you go. But if it's not and you mess it up, you have to stop and think about what's that address again, and then you have to type it in there. So about user interface design from kind of a psychological perspective and a cognitive load. And the example he uses in the book is a warehouse example. And I'm going to tweak it just a little bit. So the warehouse example is a warehouse has aisles and aisles and aisles and rows, and they go very high, and they have boxes and things, and all of these layers inside of a warehouse. But in the front of the warehouse, there might be a table like this, and it might have your 7 items on this table. So if somebody comes to the warehouse and they're looking for something for me, for Scott Radcliffe, the guy looks on the table, it's there, he gives him the item, he leaves, he's done. It's very quick, right? But if he has to stop and think, not think, but stop and go into the warehouse, he has to stop what he's doing, this guy has to wait, and the guy walks into the warehouse, he has to find the aisle it's in, he has to get some lift to go up and get it. It takes a very long time, and then that's the cognitive load that makes it difficult to use because nobody wants to do that when they get there. They want to walk in, grab their stuff, and get out. So the examples, aside from the ones I gave you, are so if you're building a user interface, and these are kind of design principles, but if you're designing a user interface and you have a form on your website, and the button is blue, it has a certain texture, and it's a certain size, and a user knows when he clicks that button, it submits a form. And it's the same on the site. And he goes to the 4th form on the site, and suddenly that button is different. Now he has to stop and think, like, why is this button suddenly red or yellow, or why is the texture different? So that is just a small thing you can do to kind of keep user interface. Man, I had a lot of notes on this, and I should have read from them. I really bombed tonight.
Going great, Scott.
No, I'm not. But that's okay. I did good last time. So,
That's all right.
So these are small things that you can do to kind of keep user interfaces simple to use and not difficult to use. So the takeaway that I want to give you tonight is when you're developing software, fancy is not always good, especially in user interface design for people that are using. And keeping things very similar is very important. And just like common interface, like Apple has common interface items that they use on all of their apps. There's a reason for that, is because people don't have to stop and think, and they want that controlled, so that when someone uses an app and there's a bar across the bottom, they know what that bar is. They know, if a number pad comes up, it always looks the same. They know what it is, so on and so forth. So when you develop software, if you take those kind of psychological and cognitive things in mind, then you'll just develop better software. And I really bombed tonight. I'm sorry. I had something better prepared, and I tried to go really fast, and I really screwed it up. So maybe we'll talk later, and I'll be more eloquent.